Hello everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Rising Games podcast. I'm here today with it's me, Sigbrit, and my co-host, Mr.
Felix.
Yes, so, and we also have a very, very special guest, David!
I'm reporting you to the police for inviting me to this podcast. I'm tied up against my will. I cannot move. And they're telling me we have to talk about controllers. I don't even know what a controller is.
Okay, well, thank you for spoiling the topic of today, but, so this is actually technically going to be a part 2 to our controls episode, where we're going to be talking about accessible controllers.
We're not doing another.
Yeah, we're not doing another tier list because we realized that went horribly wrong.
Well, it didn't go horribly.
Well, not
wrong,
horribly. It was a pain.
It was very difficult for me to edit, and during the FMP, I'd like to try and keep these as easy to edit as possible.
Oh, and speaking of the FMP, we are now going to be doing our
once
podcast.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah, once every 2 weeks. So every other week we'll be doing we'll do an episode and then we'll have it out, just so it gives us some leeway and with the FMP and other stuff. So sorry for our listeners, but it's gonna have to happen.
You never know, Sig. It might make the viewership go up. It might have a weird effect.
No, that won't happen because they'll be like, oh no.
No, but it makes it more special when one comes out.
I agree with whoever is opposing Sigrid's opinion.
That's great.
Wow, that was such a good input. Anyway,
let's get to the controllers.
So, controllers, accessible ones. The reason why I wanted to bring this up last time, but we couldn't because it wasn't really a proper way to put it in. But it's the fact that the PlayStation, Sony, have released a new accessibility controller. Yeah, so they came up with that, and I thought it looked really cool. So
one thing that should be noted is, for players who have those sort of accessibility needs, controller is actually the most accessible input, not because of actually how accessible a gamepad would necessarily be, but quite often things, especially as we'll show or I'll put up on screen, the Xbox accessibility controller, you get a board with where you can plug in using these special sort of ports in it. You can basically plug in different inputs. For example, I could put my A button as a massive button that I have, and I could glue that to the wall. I could put my B button on my desk or something, and then I could, have my arm positioned in a way where I can use my elbow to press the B and my fist to press the A or something. So people who have those more accessible needs can pretty much set up their setup exactly how they want to make it as easy as that possible for them to play, and actually allow people who may be missing things like limbs to actually be able to play games without necessarily doing that. There are, I think, other controllers which are more built for one-handed, but their standard now seems to be the Xbox Adaptive Controller.
No, honestly though, they look really. I would like to use one because, to be honest, I would like to see how they work. That's not.
Well, actually, accessibility controllers make amputation an option for gamers, and so they don't have to worry about whether they'd actually be able to stop playing games if they need amputation. Which, I know it sounds kind of dumb, but if it's someone's hobby, or someone, imagine you're a streamer and you're known for playing a particular game and you need sort of an amputation surgery or something, you might be pretty worried about whether you'd actually be able to continue playing games from there on out. But accessibility controllers do allow people to continue doing that.
Speaking of controllers and things that allow people to play games even without the use of their fingers and their hands, the upcoming Neuralink with Elon Musk, I think, is quite an intriguing point to make.
Well, that is a fair enough thing. I think accessibility controls in the future, possibly, to be honest, probably. In fact, I reckon that controllers in general, to be honest, will probably become obsolete with Neuralink. And I'm talking about distant future.
Yeah, that is true. It's I remember seeing this thing where people were hooking their minds up to to do art. So they'll listen to a song and they'll see what their brain projects onto the screen.
There's several things. So you can get these brain-computer interfaces, and the way they work at the moment is, and this isn't Neuralink, this is something that you wear externally over your head, rather than going internally into your brain. those things basically work by, they can pick up the electrical signals in your brain, and when you basically can record an action. So for example, if I said I want to see, like, I don't know, picking up an item in a video game, that's usually done with the letter E. So I basically set up on the software to say, okay, when I think of, it'd be like, okay, think about something, and I think about picking up an item in a video game, basically, and I think about it like multiple times over and over and over, and eventually it would learn the electrical pulses that would go through my brain when I'm thinking about picking up an item in a video game, and I'd say, when you register that set of impulses, that sort of thinking of picking up an item in the game, then I want you to basically press E. So that way I could literally be walking around Skyrim or something, and when I want to pick up something out of a chest, I could just think about pressing the letter E, and then it would like pull up the thing.
And the thing is, with these this Neuralink, is not only will this allow people to play games, possibly even in the future it will allow animals to play games, you know, even a mole.
Well, this isn't right, so that's not Neuralink. Neuralink works very differently. Neuralink actually literally, I think Neuralink is more literally integrated into your brain, and I think there's videos of I've seen a video where there's a chimpanzee who's playing Minecraft with a Neuralink, which is pretty cool.
I actually believe I saw that as well. Although, is that actually a real video? Because I
mean, even if it isn't real, I think it would certainly be possible to do, especially since there's definitely ones of them playing Pong and a lot of these sort of different things, because they can get the reward of getting a banana afterwards. The thing is, I think there's a guy who has a Neuralink already in his brain, and he's managed to get it so that, or they managed to get it so that he can move a mouse cursor around a screen, pretty much, with just his mind. And you may think, oh, well, that's not that much. But actually, if you think about it in terms of what it actually is moving the mouse cursor around the screen. Think about like every single PC game that's first person. You now have camera movement with your mind in every single game. That's pretty big.
Yeah, I'd say that is pretty cool. It's like, what do you mean Cheeto? Oh, yeah, what? So you'll be playing on the plate, like on your. Like,
how adaptable is this Neuralink technology? Okay. Is this a new platform other than PC? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
I think it's more that it would be used like a mouse and keyboard alongside your computer.
No, technically it's in its alpha stage. Really.
Oh, definitely, no.
But I can't believe they're already like testing, which is the scary
Oh no, it's
bit.
exciting.
Imagine if it went horribly wrong.
I imagine you have to sign quite a lot of legal forms.
Yeah. But okay, so before we like get carried on, let's actually talk about like the controls themselves. So first off, I want to talk about the Xbox. No, wait, did we? No, yeah, I want to talk about the Xbox One for a bit, because I think they were the first to make it. That's like fully well known. We have one in our course that we got to see, and honestly it was pretty cool. You got to see it as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
So essentially, if you haven't seen it before, imagine a Apple keyboard but a bit wider. Well, like longer. Is that wide? Would you say that's wide? Like that? You can always pop. That's
dumb. That's a very dumb description. Compare it to an Apple keyboard.
Okay, well,
maybe a better way of saying that would be a simplistic description.
I already described it earlier. Imagine you just got like, I don't know. I mean, if you really want to know like the size of it, imagine you've got like an Xbox Series, like X or S, and you just basically flattened it a little bit.
Oh yeah.
There's also the idea of like, how would people with certain auditory and optical impairments play video games?
That's accessibility in games.
Yeah, that is accessibility in games. However, what if you could use controllers to sort of emulate, for example, someone who cannot see? What if there was some sort of molding controller that would be able to make them to feel their environment?
That's not going to happen until
that'd be crazy.
I mean, to be honest though, Street Fighter 6 did this really cool thing where literally blind people can literally play Street Fighter 6 because they have noises that, okay, you know what, you wanna if you don't want to listen, you can close your ears, you can quit.
I said nothing to you. Carry on.
I'm so dumb. No, so basically, there's a noise that will like play every like second to let you know how close you are to your opponent, and if they've for example, if you're really close, there'll be a continuous beep, and like beep 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 beep. Whilst if you're far away, it'll be like beep 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 and stuff like that. and like if your opponent fires like a fireball, for example, obviously you'll hear it, but it will also detect whether your opponent has jumped or whether you've jumped, and like other stuff like that. It's pretty cool, and honestly, I'd say it's like really well done, especially for a fighting game of all things. I'm surprised like not like a lot of other games haven't actually used that. Thank you very much, David. But so they've essentially done that, and that's actually I haven't tested it out myself. I probably should, but it's pretty good. But it's like, it would be cool to see if, like, for example, with the controller, because obviously on Street Fighter 6 they've got that little beep thing. But what if on the controller
it vibrated
every time? Yeah. Because then it's sort of like what if like you're not fully. No, what if you're like more like partially deaf?
What if you're blind and deaf?
Well,
then you can just use the controller. You can only feel.
Yep.
That'd be crazy.
But like, if they had to do something like that, how do you reckon they? I feel like they'd have to make certain segments of the controller vibrate differently, so multiple inputs could be registered at once.
Yeah.
So, and also maybe with more intensity rather than frequent bleeping.
Yeah, the intensity and frequency. Though, why don't they just literally just make it so it vibrates in Morse code, and then and the Morse code is just like a description of what's going on.
That would just mean they have to learn Morse code to actually be able to play a game.
Okay.
I ain't doing all that just to play a game.
You might, but you might if you're both blind and deaf.
Well, that's quite rare to be both blind and deaf.
Well, yeah, it is, but here's the thing.
Although it's all about inclusiveness.
Yeah, I was gonna say accessibility isn't about appealing to the majority, because if it was about appealing to the majority, then you just wouldn't really bother, because the majority of people, to be honest, don't really need a lot of these features.
Another issue,
even if they find use out of them, a lot of them can get away without using them.
Another issue in games I found. Some games that do offer certain auditory impairments, like they give them advantages so they can play games. An example would be a game like Fortnite. Not personally my cup of tea in terms of playing games. However, like you can go into the settings and enable it so you can see the direction of sound. And even if you're not deaf, this could still really help you and give you an advantage over other players. So not only is there the issue of inclusiveness, there's the issue of like what consequence.
Here's the thing.
Will those certain
if
features.
you give a feature to everyone, then it's not an advantage. Because if literally everyone gets the option to turn that on, then if you want to play without having that on, then that's absolutely fine, but you can't complain at someone else playing with that on, because you also had the option to turn it on.
But what if it's a game that they want immersiveness in that game? Other players that are being too competitive could ruin it for each. They could ruin it.
I'll be 100% real. If you get immersiveness out of Fortnite, then I don't know. Fortnite doesn't strike me as a very
I was using
immersive
Fortnite
game.
as an example. I mean games like maybe Call of Duty.
That's not an immersive.
How you're reliving history?
Well then, okay. If you want immersiveness, then turn it off.
Yes, but then if you turn it off, you have a disadvantage.
Well,
story mode.
If you're
playing solo by yourself in a story setting, why would you care?
You're not peeking it properly. But anyway, as I was saying, I think that it's more. But it's entirely up to you whether you want to turn it on or not.
Yeah, I guess so. In the end, it is all up to.
I was gonna say,
it is all up to the player.
Yeah, if you want to decide that you want to sacrifice maybe some performance in terms of just getting that more immersive experience. I mean, people like with Elden Ring especially, you have the options for the different things of GUIs, right? You have you can have the one where it will sometimes hide your health bars and everything. Ideally, it'd be useful to have as much information on screen as much. I mean, goddamn, if you want to play Minecraft with F3 up on your screen all the time, you'd have all the information. You'd have your exact coordinates. You'd have everything about where you are and what block you've highlighted and everything. You'd literally have all the information. But at the same time, you'd have a whole bunch of text up on the screen. It wouldn't be very pleasant to play. So it's really about balancing how much information you want and how immersive you want it to be. But anyway, let's have a look at how the PlayStation accessibility controller actually works, because it looks to me to be kind of different to how the Xbox.
All right, so essentially, how the controller works is, so you have this circle. You obviously have the main bit and the joystick. The joystick part where you can actually move the joystick around and stuff. You can have that either positions like up, down, left, right. You know, the usual. But you can also assign the button to each. So from what I've seen, right? David, stop. So from what I've seen, there's a button for each of the. So there's a button for each of the. Obviously, there's a button. There's 7 buttons, 7 or 8 buttons, 2, 4, 6, 8 buttons. All right, that you can use, and for each button you can assign a different. You can assign it to a different button. But obviously, the actual main base plate doesn't actually have a already printed on button. It comes with these little smaller versions, like smaller, I guess you could say, icons that you clip onto the actual thing, and it tells you which one it is.
In any order you want.
Yeah, in any order you want. So basically, you could have. So you obviously have your main plates. So you can either have your single one, your double one, your curved one, or your longer one. You've put them on into the position that you want. Then afterwards, you take these little notches that you have. Let's say you have the square button. You can attach that onto one of the plates to assign it. Well, that's obviously not fully assigning it. That's just telling you where it is. Once you've done that, you enter onto the PlayStation's settings. I think it may. I can't remember if it does not automatically detect. But if you go to controllers, you can click on accessibility controllers, and it will come up with the setting for that controller. So you can immediately go on it, and it will like walk you through what you have to do. So once you're in there, you find the button that you want. So obviously after you've picked the right buttons that you want, and
basically you get a circle of buttons and you can map them however you want.
Yeah, map them how you want.
And then you have the 4 ports on the side, which you can plug in whatever sort of accessories you need for things like controllers, joysticks, and other things.
Yeah, exactly. So on the side there are like 4 ports where you can add stuff. Well, I cannot remember. This is the one thing that I cannot remember. I cannot remember if there was actually extra stuff that PlayStation made, so like an external button.
It shouldn't matter. It would work. I think it's compatible with the Xbox stuff.
Well, I was about to say that there might be some third-party thing, or even just the Microsoft's own like little thing. So yeah, obviously once you set it out like manually, with the hardware, what button you want, you then need to go onto the actual PS5 and update every button once again to the correct amount. So the physical button, the quote unquote button on the plate, is just there as to tell you where it is, rather than not tell you where it is, if that makes sense. So
you just get a circle of remappable buttons, a joystick, and you get 4 ports which you can plug in basically whatever accessories you want
there you
into
go.
it.
So I find that pretty cool. So
yeah, it seems to. For me, I'd rather use this than the Xbox accessibility one, to be honest, because it seems like this actually has like an easier layout by default, so you could use it on its own, but then you can also add your own accessories to actually add more functionality to it. So it seems, to be honest, like I'd say it's more accessible.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, what about you, David? What do you think? I'm gonna pull up another video of someone using it, see how it goes. But what do you think?
I think that the PlayStation accessibility controller, it seems to be more catered towards those who still have movement up to their forearms. But I think, although that it is obviously still accessible to people with lack of fingers and all that, I think it's more common to just have no forearm at all. So it's kind of like, whereas it is better than the Xbox controller in the regard that you can add what kind of pedals and that you want. I still think that its initial design is still not quite as user friendly for those who can't use their forearms.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, I was just going to say, for those of you who are interested in maybe possibly purchasing this, if you weren't aware of it, we'll put a link to both the Microsoft Store pages for the Xbox accessibility controllers and the PlayStation page for where you can buy the PlayStation accessibility controller, as well as we'll link the trailers in the description as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
So that way you can pick one up if you're thinking that it might be useful for you.
Well, fair enough. I think we're going to wrap up now. Thank you guys for listening. It's been a real pleasure. But yeah, just remember that the new dates and stuff, it'll be every
other week.
It'll be every other so it'll essentially be every other week where we do an episode. So yeah, thank you guys for listening very much. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, morning. Your day, morning, evening, /hour and/or night.
Bye.
Enjoy slicing up this episode, future Felix.
Oh yeah. Good luck to you. Yeah. What?
Yeah, to be honest, future Felix. This better not be when we were supposedly supposed to be playing Minecraft, by the way. So if you're doing this rather than playing Minecraft,
it won't. I'll do it on the weekend.
Thank you guys. See you later. Bye.